Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our lunch and learn. Maybe it's afternoon where you are. Glad for everybody joining us. Glad for the Live at Last team that's here. So it's Anti-Trafficking Awareness Month in the U.S. And so there's a focus on trafficking. Specifically, Alive at Last works alongside women who've been trafficked, specifically sexually exploited and sex trafficking. So there is some difference between, human trafficking. It can be that there's labor trafficking where people are exchanging labor for items of value or a place to stay. Oftentimes that happens with immigrants that come in and can't be employed legally, things like that. But then there's the specific lane of sex trafficking, which involves sexual exploitation. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Just want to welcome you and thank you for your interest in the work that Alive at Last does to come alongside women who have experienced force, fraud, or coercion to obtain a sex act. So Alive at Last connects with these women who are seeking life change. So they're wanting to gain independence. They're wanting to live their lives free from force, fraud, or coercion, and vulnerabilities such as economic vulnerabilities, feeling like they need a man in order to maintain a certain lifestyle of living or to take care of their children. Um, so there's those factors that the women that we serve encounter. And so how do we connect with these women? We go into safe houses and shelters. We're an outreach organization. We have relationship with a number of safe houses and shelters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and one out of state as well. So we initiate relationship. We offer small group support, which is faith-based for these women and give them an opportunity to experience Jesus and hope as well and to think differently about their lives. So Dr. Lynnette, Simm and I are going to just converse today, and hopefully you'll gain a little bit of it, information that you didn't know before, or reminders about the women that we serve and how we can better serve them. So the population we serve, actually, there are 400 minors that are trafficked on the streets of Dallas every night. It's chilly today here in Dallas, so that kind of is crazy to think about. 400 minors. Now, Alive at Last, most of the women we serve are 18 or older because you have to have identification. You have to be 18 or older to enroll in or check into one of these residential facilities where they begin their rehabilitation. So that number of 400 that are trafficked every night that are minors, there's an additional population out there. There are adults that are being trafficked as well on the streets of Dallas. And we rank number 2 for the trafficking problem in the state of Texas. So there is such a need for the work that Alive at Last does. And I just want to thank you for your interest and for being involved. So Alive at Last does 2 things. We provide that small group support that I mentioned. We initiate that relationship with women. I just saw someone jump on Natasha Hall. Good to see Wendy Mitchell. So Natasha is one of those that actually has a small group that a place where she serves. She has just become a voice of healing at Exodus Ministry in Dallas. And so just one of those teams that goes in and offers small group support, a place to find unconditional love. It's nice to have somebody that you just know is going to show up, even after they've heard about your worst day, even after you've told your story that is a little bit crazy and hair-raising, and that small group leader looks right back in your eye and says, "I'll be here next week. Can I pray with you? What do you need?" So that's what Alive at Last does, is we offer that. There's something valuable. We serve alongside Dr. Lynnette Simm. Ashley's here on the call, and then Natalie Merrill. Crystal's working our tech today, so we appreciate her so much. But our lead team actually serves alongside our to support, whether we're mentoring, whether we're serving alongside our small group leaders. And so it takes a lot to provide a community where these women can actually have resources for the long haul. So one of the things that Alive at Last does with our small group support and one-to-one mentoring is we're providing long-term support. As I mentioned, we go alongside and we're trauma informed, trauma trained. So when we come in and serve alongside staff in a safe house and shelter, we're coming in week after week and we provide volunteer support. I'll tell you what that provides for the women. It's life-changing. It's intangible. One thing that we provide is the fact that we don't get paid for what we do. Now, some of our staff does get compensated, but what I'm saying is they don't get paid the amount. They're part-timers. And so when the women know, oh, you're coming in, when Natasha Hall shows up, when Wendy Mitchell shows up and says, hey, I'll mentor you. And there's just something powerful about someone in the life of a survivor who does not get paid. They're saying, I'm initiating this relationship and I don't get anything in return. I don't know if there's anything more powerful. Reminds me of how Jesus is the greater initiator, right? He's initiating a relationship. He's reaching out through his spirit, drawing people to himself. Alive at Last is the hands and feet of Jesus as we initiate that relationship, just offering long-term support. One thing I want to shift in a minute and just and let Dr. Lynnette talk about the piece of our program, the mentoring piece that really does make such a difference. But it's one thing for survivors to be in a residential facility. Maybe they were arrested for prostitution. They were arrested for drugs or alcohol, DUI, whatever. And then there's this record, right, of other arrests. So then they maybe come out of prison. 50%, at least 50% on any given year of the women we serve. Last year we served 120. Half of them have been in prison and incarcerated. So there's that factor. There's the factor that many of them have drug and alcohol abuse as one of their vulnerabilities. It stands to reason, doesn't it? The fact that women get in the sex industry, you can't do that without having some sort of chemical dependency. So they go hand in hand. And then oftentimes homelessness is a factor as well. So understanding our population is a huge thing. So once they find freedom and they're free from their trafficker, whether they were incarcerated and freedom came because they cut off communication or for some other reason, they were able to cut that communication and start their rehabilitation. So freedom's one thing. Living free is a whole nother deal. Alive at Last is not on the rescue side of things, but remember, these women will cycle back into a life of exploitation if they're not discipled, if they don't have a healthy person in their life to show them there are other resources, there's another way. They'll cycle back into that lifestyle up to 7 times. And so we come in, I don't know if we're number 2, I don't know if we're number 3, we never know, but we're coming in and we're saying, look, there's another way to live. You can think differently, you can live differently. So Alive at Last is all about living free for the long haul. And we find that as we connect with our mentors and follow up with women, that 88% of the women that we serve never return to that lifestyle. It's huge. It's huge. And the fact that most of the women, again, this is more like 85% of the women we serve on any given year they have at least one child in their custody, or they're seeking to regain custody of their children, one or more children. So we're affecting the next generation, and it's huge. It's exciting to be part of. I want you to know, Crystal's actually going to put some information in the chat. You can connect with Alive at Last through aliveatLast.org. We want you to come on board, whether you've experienced exploitation in your past or you haven't. Don't disqualify yourself. We're looking for women that will leverage their experience, whether it's a life of experience and understanding how to navigate resources, and come along someone like as an advocate, as a mentor, and help them navigate resources in order to live a life of freedom. So we want you to come alongside us. Maybe you're thinking about somebody today. You're thinking, oh, I know somebody who'd be great for this. Please share our information because we want to continue to help women live a life of freedom. So, Dr. Lynnette, whenever I started with Alive at Last, I attended an awareness luncheon, and just the average church lady. I came because somebody invited me. I didn't really seek it out even. But when I heard about the trafficking issue, and at that time my daughter was probably 14 years old, I thought, oh no, 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 I can't leave here and not do something. I heard three different speakers that day. One of them was the Alive at Last executive director at the time. And I went home that afternoon and filled out the online application and volunteered to mentor. So then within a month, I was matched with a lady. I kind of expedited my training. I was matched with a lady who was currently in the sex industry and was living about 5 miles from my church. I can't tell you what I learned by engaging, and sexual exploitation does not it's not in my background. So I was connected and I didn't know how I would help. How was I going to help when I didn't have any common factors? I learned quite quickly that there are some human common factors that we all share. Yeah, there's some human common factors. I had the same vulnerabilities as this gal I was mentoring, right? I had children that I cared about. She shared that same thing. Um, there's financial vulnerabilities, right, that I would have if I were not married, that I would have if I didn't have some healthy family behind me. And so we're connecting with women who just have the very same vulnerabilities. So I learned so much from my mentee and engaging in relationship. The Lord taught me a lot about unconditional love, about understanding um, the vulnerabilities that women universally do share. And I saw great life change and transformation in her life, and she and I are still connected today, 8 years later. Um, Dr. Lynnette, mentorship matters. It makes a difference, and you can do that virtually now. We went totally virtual after COVID in our mentoring. We still have our outreach side where we're connecting with women, initiating a relationship in small group. But then many of them do say, yes, I would love a one-to-one mentoring relationship. Tell us how it's making a difference.
Well, what's great about mentorship, like you said, it is that one-on-one relationship that can turn um, uh, into a relationship that is beyond what the current trauma is, which I really love because I mean, you and your mentor have been now friends and connected, your lives connected for the last 8 years. And then obviously with this amazing technology, whether it's FaceTime, Zoom, Google Chat, whatever the technology is, I'll leave that for Crystal. There's a way to connect with somebody. We have mentors in Florida that are mentoring somebody in Dallas. We have mentors in North Carolina that are mentoring people in Dallas. We have people in Colorado that are mentoring people in Dallas. And then across the Metroplex, we have people in Tyler mentoring. We have people down in Houston, Fort Worth. Just pretty much, we have a woman who's a truck driver. So no matter where she is, and she does long hauls, which I just think is absolutely amazing, but she has a heart because a lot of the trafficking happens in these truck stops and whatnot. And she wanted to help, but so she can mentor anywhere she's at. So that's the amazing part of what technology can be used for in order to connect and allow for mentorship. But what we like to make sure we do, especially as Gwen was talking about, not everybody has a background in sexual trauma. Um, and so we like to make sure that we provide the training that the mentors are going to need. And we start that with one of our very first one is trauma-informed training. And that is just allowing people to understand what trauma is and how you can recognize it in some of its behaviors. So, for example, the trauma-informed training is going to is going to train any woman, any person who wants to help another woman in triggers. what do they look like? The fact that we all have them. I know that triggers like the latest name, but we've all had, things that have set us off. They've pushed my button, all of those things. And so trigger is the next is the word, but they're normal. I mean, I get triggered by my dog pawing at me, wanting to sit in my lap. So we all have them. And so we want our mentors to understand that everybody has them. Gwen has them. You don't have to have sexual trauma in your background to understand that when somebody gives you a hug, it's kind of, or when somebody gives you a hug, it's like, oh, okay, I'm a hugger. So there's tons there. We talk about how trust takes time. These women have had horrible relationships, whether they were with their family or with their pimps or with the trafficker or with other people. A lot of them experience domestic violence. A lot of them have children, that with multiple people. There's just their relationships are hard. So trust takes time. And that's where the consistency that begins in the small group and continues in the mentorship is so important. So with mentors, we have our mentors connect with our mentees at least 3 times a week. That's usually 2 texts, kind of like, hey, how you doing? Thinking of you, little emoji of love, or a prayer request, or anything like that. But then the other one is usually a call or FaceTime or Zoom call, whichever, so that you can like see the person, because there's nothing more important than seeing their face, and you can see how they're feeling that day. You can see by their body movements, and yet we're still in our safe place. I do mentoring as a private practice, and a lot of my mentees, clients, are just totally excited with the fact that they get to be in their safe place while they're, becoming vulnerable. And so it's really a beautiful thing. So we also have the opportunity for mentors to meet with their mentees in person if they so choose. There's no rule that says you can't. But then, we want to make sure that we are teaching our mentees that how they want to connect is up to them. We're not forcing ourselves onto them. It's very important that the mentors realize that they are to connect and stay connected, continue to text or whatever. But after a while, if they fall apart, if the mentee chooses not to continue to communicate, there's something going on. You can reach out and say, I don't know what's going on, but I want you to know that I'm still praying for you. You don't have to, your time, your effort. Some, like Gwen said, some of them go back and they feel ashamed. And our goal is to make sure that they realize they still have a person, that it doesn't matter what they're doing, that we are there for them, that they have a consistent person that is praying for them, that is looking out for them, that is concerned and cares about them. So it's really important. We are faith-based. We are not ashamed. I love the unapologetically Christian, and that's what we are. So we like to make sure that we are not judging, we are not labeling, but we are loving. That's what Jesus called us to do. I don't know where they are in their walk, but I know that they are loved, and that they are caring individuals that deserve respect and caring and understanding. So we try to make sure that we know that the enemy is strong, that the Lord is always with them, that there's nothing that they can do to pull away from God, that he wouldn't accept them the minute they ran back. We have a amazing, strong, and forgiving Father, Heavenly Father. So it's important. A lot of them have some religious wounds or church wounds or whatever. And so we try to make sure to gauge where they are. So we talk about that. And then we avoid telling them what to do in their faith. Like, we don't tell them that they need to forgive their perpetrators. They need to forgive their parents. They need to forgive the system. That's not up to us. That's God's work. We're not saviors. Okay, we're not therapists, we're not counselors, we're not the hotline, we're not Jesus, we're not saviors. We are other Christian women walking life with them, the ups, the downs, the goods, the bad, so that they know that somebody out there cares with no agenda. We don't want anything from them. We don't want their money. We don't want their time. We don't want their physical acts. We want nothing. We just want them to know they're important. So we try to emphasize that God is always close to them, that God has compassion, that God is forgiving, that there's grace, that there is a greatness out there that is stronger than what they are living through. And we can do that a lot when we have women on our team as well as our mentors. Not everybody, but there's a lot of them, like myself, who have sexual trauma in our background. And we can say, I know what that feels like. I know it's hard. I get it. Let me tell you what is working for me or how I am handling this. So that's really important. And that's what mentorship is about. It's about really connecting and saying that we're not different, and I can walk this with you. You're not alone in this. So we try to make
I love the fact, I want to just say something that you pointed out. That you mentioned the fact that we actually do have something to offer them. I do believe that the average church person that gains skill. I'm not saying that you can just step right into a mentoring relationship without having some training, but the average Christian has the answers. The church, the Christian people out there have the answers to the problems in our culture, including sexual exploitation and trafficking. Healthy relationship is what we're offering. So trust-based relationship that you mentioned, Dr. Lynnette, establishing that trust in order to establish a communication that's healthy. I love that, and the fact that we offer choice. You mentioned that a couple times. You know, Jesus offers choice. Oftentimes, people will say things like, "Well, if God wants it done, it's going to be done." You know, in the Christian world we live in, if God wants it done, it's going to be done. Well, that's an interesting perspective. If he was going to make anybody do anything, he'd make them get saved, wouldn't he? And he's not making anybody get saved. He honors our choice as human beings. And so when
Mhm.
we come alongside these women and we have an agenda, there's nothing like seeing that someone needs freedom. But you know what? When we honor their choice and we allow them that journey of healing, just something powerful happens in that.
It's again, what I love about our mentorship program is we have loads of training. You want to learn about healthy boundaries? We got it. You want to learn about shelter life? We got it. You want to learn about sexual trauma? We're doing it now. You want to learn about um, what are good boundaries to have financially. You want to help them get their GED or help them with their budgeting or whatever. We have loads of training that any mentor and any woman in our program can access through our Mighty Network. And so we have all of those tools. But what we have to remember is that our goal isn't to force it upon them, but to say, look, we got this. What would you like? Hey, you want to talk about this? We could talk about this. We meet them where they're at. And so if they are still struggling with shelter life, or they're still struggling with probation or CPS or whatever, we keep meeting them where they're at so that they can see that, again, we're not the savior, but we are hands and feet. We're
Yes.
God's army. It is many hands make good work, many hands. And so, as mentors, we are companions. We are lifelines of friendship, of trust, of compassion, of grace. We are not saviors. Our role is to listen to where these women are in their lives. What do they need? Not what our agenda is. We could definitely create a program. In fact, there's one in the Mighty Network. If somebody's like, okay, I'm doing really well, but I would like this, that, or the next thing, we've got programs. We can go through that. But if they're struggling with who they are in Christ, we got you. We have information on that. If they're struggling with, I don't know where to go next. I don't even know what I'm good at. we have that as well. We talk about identity. We talk about what skills they have. I love the brainstorming part. It's so amazing. But again, our goal is to be consistent, not intense. Our goal is to stay focused on them, where they are. It's not about us.
So good.
Um, uh,
I love that point, about all the tools, but
mhm,
really it does go back to what they need.
yeah,
I'm reading through the New Testament right now. It's shocking how many times Jesus asked questions. He's the teacher. He
yeah.
knew a lot of times he knew the answers. It's okay to ask someone a question that we actually know the answer to and not give the answer, but allow them to discover, to verbalize. It's up to them to locate where am I? And questioning really does that. And so when you're talking about Dr. Lynnette, that we're survivor focused. And oftentimes I feel that the Lord has actually put the answers inside us, in
Mhm.
his unique design, how he wired us. It's fascinating. And I know you've seen this even as you have served with alongside Alive at Last and touch women's lives. And each of you on our team has seen it. Small group leaders, mentors, you've seen it, where when they have a moment of self-discovery, they're in conversation, in purposeful
Mhm.
conversation. Oftentimes, they realize that maybe there's been something going on the inside. That's actually the voice of God. That's actually Him that's speaking to me. It's
Mhm.
amazing to watch that.
I love when we get to start talking to them and asking those questions. Well, what do you like to do? What are you good at? What do you do for fun? If you could do anything, what would you do? Helping them to rebuild actually their identity in themselves as strong, capable women with opportunities, with a future. I love Jeremiah 29:11. A lot of us know that, God has a plan for us to prosper us, one for hope. And to be able to let these women know that it is. You're not alone. There are other women in the group. The small groups are great because you start to hear about, oh, I'm not the only one who's gone through this. The mentoring especially when it's a trauma. I have one of my clients who lost their mother. I lost mine recently. And so to be able to go, yeah, grief's hard. Yeah, I'm walking with you.
Mhm.
Like out of the blue, a song came on and I'm weeping. And she goes, yeah, yeah, that did, to walk life is to go through the journeys together. And so we're helping them identify as not their trauma. Their trauma is not their identity. What they have gone through, what was done to them is not who they are. And so helping them rebuild their identity, create life skills so that they can move out of what they have done and start moving into God's purpose for them. I have a mentee, and and she was a doer. Her mother had left her quite early, her father and two brothers and her. And so she became the little mom, and she took care of everything, cleaned meals. She was the oldest of the three of them. And so she was always the doer. Well, trauma after trauma. Next thing you know, she had learned how to be a videographer. Again, I would assume it's camera editing, all of that jazz. Um, and then next thing you know, I don't know what happened. I have no idea how it all unraveled, but she was in her car. Then her car was repossessed. And so now she's in shelter. She has all of this baggage, all of this trauma. And she's like, I don't know what to do. I'm supposed to be doing stuff. And the Lord is working in her, and her and I are talking about, calm down. You don't have to do everything. We talk about emotional regulation, like it's this isn't all you. Okay, you have this opportunity. What do you want to do? This is a pivotal moment. You can decide to go back into what you were doing, or you can decide to change. And so that opportunity, she's been in the shelter for 7 months now and is loving it. And not because she has like no privacy because she shares a room. The showers are major. It's not her own home. She doesn't have a lot of stuff. She has to be in the shelter by a certain time. There's all these rules and regulations. What she's loving is the connection she's making with other people, to see that there are real people out there caring for those in shelter, for those that have been trafficked, for those who have had trauma, for those who are homeless, for those who are needing a change. And she is seeing Alive at Last come in with our small groups, with our mentors, with our small events, our Inspire events. And she goes, I had faith. Yeah, like I knew who God was. But she's like diving deep into God's relationship with her and where she wants to go. So now she's talking about doing videography, not for inappropriate things, but for ministries, for Alive at Last, for the shelter she's at, which is a faith-based shelter, for other ministries. She wants to use her skill for the Lord. And that's the opportunities that mentors have, is to see this change. And
Yes.
and I've been with her just 6 months, and I'm just like, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I am just so excited for you. This is so great. And yet she's like, okay, well, I think I'm going to try this. And I'm like, all right, so what do you need? And she's like, well, I'm going to need this, 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 this. And I'm like, okay, how are you going to get it? And she's like, okay, I'm going to go this. I'm going to try this. And I'm like, okay, that's great. She goes, and yet I make sure I'm not offering anything. We do not want to enable them to feel as if they are beholding to us. They have strength in the Lord. Okay. All things are possible with the Lord. They can do it. They don't need us to handhold them. They need us to say, you got this. That's a great idea. Have you thought about this? Oh, there's this other resource. It's over here. Have you thought about that? And then they go and do it. The control, the strength, the building, it's phenomenal. And that's what I love about Alive at Last. I don't know if I would be part of a group that went out on the streets, but I know that once they're in here and they're like, please, we need some help. We need some love, some compassion.
Yes.
Um, and to see, them blossom, I'm here with you. I'm not over you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm here with you and saying, you can do this. And I'm right here.
Yeah,
It,
so good. I think the fact that we initiate relationship and we initiate that relationship for long term is huge. And then, the fact that we see amazing transformation is one of those things too that I feel like adds energy. It keeps us going back year after year, serving over 100 women because we see these amazing transformations. Your particular mentee is actually empowered to the place that she's speaking at an event that Alive at Last is uh, part of this coming Tuesday. So it's just amazing the fact that she's in a position actually to share her experience. It's very rare that we see a woman empowered to that level. Oftentimes, women experience healing, and it just feels good to be okay. And but they are not interested in talking about their past. So I love it when periodically there are women that rise up and say, "Hey, I'm ready to share my story." So in a healthy relationship, I think it's amazing the power that occurs in healthy relationship. Many of us that are the group here, you probably have layers of people in your life. I know I do. But we've heard women say this. It's very common for them to say, I don't have one person, not one person in my life I can trust. Not a family member. Oftentimes they were trafficked or exploited in their very early years. About 99%. It's very rare for us to serve a woman who didn't experience early childhood sexual abuse. So with those kinds of factors, um, it's very rare for us to meet women that have layers of support. They just don't. That's what um, eventually lands them in a residential facility. But you mentioned the fact that they're how open they are. It amazes me, and I think there's a couple of factors that come into play, and that is the fact that they're clear-headed, they're free from any drug use or alcohol abuse. They have to be while they're in the shelter. So that the fact that they have all their needs taken care of for a period, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for
Yeah.
your mentee, it's been 7 months now. She doesn't have to think about bills right now. She doesn't have to think about where her next meal is going to come from. So she's out of survival mode, basically.
Yep.
When that happens, it's a real uh fertile ground for transformation to take place. When you're in a faith-based setting, you've got faith-based support, you have your needs taken care of for a period. Typically, Dr. Lynnette, how long would you say that the women are in a residential program? Because the clock's ticking.
Yeah, each shelter is different, which is great. There are shelters that have anywhere from a 6 month to a 2 or even 3 year program that allows them to really get back on their feet. So it really depends on the shelter that they're at. The safe houses are the same. Sometimes they are there for a short period of time until they can be placed with some um, or be put in a different place where they are safe. So it really depends. And that's the whole thing about our small groups. We come in and we start with, trying to heal with either our Mending the Soul or Explore book. And then we go into Forgiving Forward. And again, it is forgiving ourselves and what we have done, because there's a lot of guilt and shame in that. And then trying to forgive outside of that. But, to know that the Lord forgives us first. So that's really
Yeah.
great. Then we go into boundaries, and depends on how long they've been in shelters to how many of those small groups they get. But with the mentorship, it doesn't matter if the shelter is only 6 months or it's 3 years. You're gaining a relationship with somebody, and you're Alive at Last team. A lot of the women know Gwen, they know Natalie, they know myself, they know Laura, they know some of our partners because we go in and we do events and we keep going back. And so they know that we have the ability to get a hold of us, especially through the Mighty Network, which is another amazing application that we have for those with sexual trauma. It's a secure, safe environment where we have training for the mentors, absolutely, but all of our psychologists, counselors, survivors, trauma specialists, domestic violence, finance people, that we have gained training, that it's in the Mighty Network, and any of the women at shelters can just listen to them, podcast crazy. And so they get real healing, like my mentee Allison is. She is just diving into all of the resources while she has this downtime. And that's how
Yeah.
she's seeing it, as God's opportunity to pour into her and strengthen her during this downtime. And she's really utilizing it. And you were talking about the way they want to give back. Allison is one of those, but we have a couple of other mentees from some other small groups that they're going to be part of Alive at Last, and they're going to share their story. They've shared it at galas. They're going to share it for another event of ours. I have sexual trauma. A lot of our teammates have sexual trauma. To be able to go back and say, okay, enemy, you meant that for bad, but God's using it for good. And he's going to say, you know what? I'm going to talk about sex. I'm going to say the word. I'm going to say trafficking. I'm going to say sex abuse. I'm going to say rape and molest and incest and all of those things. And none of it is taboo, because this is a safe space. And we can talk about what the triggers look like. One of the trainings I did was talking about all of the triggers, the things that we have to deal with as those that deal with sexual trauma in our background. A hug. Gwen gives hugs. She gives great hugs. I didn't get hugs from my mom when I was a kid. So women hugs is kind of like, ooh. And then the men hugs weren't good, because I have sexual trauma in my background. So I had to learn good hugs, like what's a good hug? Like how long do you hug? All of those things. And to stay focused. By focus, I mean stay present. I'm not being hugged by somebody who abused me. I'm not receiving a hug from my mom. I am receiving a hug from Gwen. She's saying, "Welcome back to Texas, Lynnette. I've missed you. Here's a hug." And I stay present with who I am. It's truly amazing what we get to share when we say that trauma is not who I am, and I'm going to use that to love and move forward. Um, our team does
What a
it.
powerful thing.
It is.
Healthy relationship is
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
absolutely.
And if you've had that, it can be kind of a mindset change to put yourself in someone else's shoes that has never experienced healthy touch, healthy
Hmm.
relationship. But we know how transformative it can be. Um, Dr. Lynnette, what would you say? I think one of the areas that Alive at Last really shines is when a woman is transitioning out, because when we connect with her initially at that shelter at a safe house, she has layers of support. Like we mentioned, she doesn't have to worry about her bills, food, clothing, shelter for this period, and she can actually focus on her own healing. But the clock is ticking. She will transition out. It's one of those opportunities, I feel, that Alive at Last really does our best work. Can you kind of you've walked through a number with a number of mentors alongside them as women are transitioning out. They're looking at independent living. They're looking at getting their kids back.
Hmm.
It's very complex. Can you just speak to that? How Alive at Last actually does what we do best during that transition phase?
Well, remember when they're in shelter, like we were talking about, that or they were just surviving, and now they have this moment to be um, to take a break, to have all of their immediate needs, their safety, their food, their shelter, all of that being done. And yet then they get to this place where either by the program or on their own have decided that they now have a voice, they have agency, they can go out and make those next steps. A lot of times they're still dealing with a lack of value and worth, and so they can second guess themselves. We have some great mentors that have helped women get from that transition part. Like, just because you leave the safety of the shelter doesn't mean that Alive at Last is just going to go, okay, you're out. That's what the mentorship is really, when it really shines, is that okay, you're out on your own. What does this look like? We have a great example of this with one of our mentors. She's in Florida and she has worked with a lady that has been in shelter, and she had gone through the program, had figured out, she got her GED while she was in shelter. Amazing. um, and Dee, the mentor, just kept letting her know that she can do this, take the practice exam, see what you need to study. They walked through all of this. She got her GED, got a job, and then was able to save up enough during her time in shelter, which is great. This particular shelter allowed them to save up their funds, and she was able to get her apartment on her own. When things went bad, and by bad, I just mean lonely, overwhelmed. Like, now what do I do? She just was texting Dee, and Dee was calling her. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm still right here with you. No, really, this is a real relationship. It is not because you're in shelter. It's not because you're in crisis. It's because this is life. We all need that relationship. And I think that's what Alive at Last shines most for, is that it is that long-term relationship. This isn't a just you're in the shelter, okay, you're done, go out on your own. And I really love that about it is, like, you've been with your mentee for 8 years. Um, I personally have my own mentor that I've had since I was 15. I'm in my 50s. Y'all do the math. And I can call on her anytime, all the time.
Yeah.
And it's that one person. What I love most is, like, it's that one person who, not because of DNA, not because of job or shelter or work or whatever. They are there in your life because they care about you. They don't have to be there. Like my mentor, I met her when I was 15. She could have easily, done my, years of counseling or whatever and said, okay, you're on your own, ciao. But she kept calling. How you doing? How's married life? How's this? Oh, you're pregnant. How's this? How's your kid? She came out when my first daughter was born. In fact, my daughter's middle name is her middle name because of that. Um, these are people, and that's what Alive at Last gets to do. We don't get paid for this, you know. Uh, we get to love on people because we love them, and they get
Yeah.
to find a real relationship that's not based on coercion, that's not based on an exchange. It is based on Christ.
It's such a valuable thing to offer to them, for them to receive a relationship that I don't need anything from you in return. It's also extremely valuable to be the giver
Oh my
and think,
gosh.
you can't give me anything.
Yeah,
I don't need anything from you. No, I don't need validation. I have no goals for you. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just amazing.
It's beautiful because it provides this opportunity to share life in such a way that you see them blossoming and you're just like, God, you're so good, you're so good. And I just love it. I love it when they, my clients as a life mentor or working with Allison, they go, well, I couldn't have done this without you. Yeah, you could. I mean, it's not me. It would have been another mentor. It could have been anybody. You couldn't have done this without God.
Yes.
I'm just here saying God sees you. I
Yes.
hold up the mirror. The reflection is you. The reflection is God. And so, you are a strong individual. You are an intelligent woman. You can grow. You can heal. You can do it. I can't do it for you. You know, um,
Definitely.
it,
Their yes is the biggest yes.
uh,
It takes their yes. And then when we say yes, when we step up and say, you know what, God, I'll allow you to use, even if you don't have sexual exploitation in your background, rejection, right? We've experienced rejection. We know trauma to how maybe we lost someone out of season, lost a sibling at a young age that was too young to die, or there's trauma that we experience in our
mhm.
life. So it's just part of living in a cursed world. And then being able to leverage that for the sake of someone else is just absolutely supernatural. Crystal put in the chat a little bit ago the Mighty Network platform that you mentioned, Dr. Lynnette. So the fact
Mhm.
that we do have resources for those of you that are already serving with Alive at Last, in that Mighty Network platform, there is a section over in the menu that says resources. There are resources for, we actually have a gal that helps with low income housing, and her sweet spot is with 18 to 24-year-olds. There's a really a whole community of resources out there for in the housing area. Oftentimes, the women um, have an idea. They have some navigation. They have a plan when they're about to transition for low income housing, and so oftentimes that does occur within shelter. But then there's also those that it is not provided for them. It just depends on the shelter. It is not provided for them. Maybe there's not the staffing that helps with that transition process. So housing's a major thing that can be critical for women when they are transitioning out. So there's resources for housing. There are resources for education. A few years ago, we were able to partner with an organization that connected with one of our women that needed scholarship in order to pursue her education. So she was able to get scholarship. There's actually that's available, but our women often don't know it. In the state of Texas, if there's been exploitation in your background, trafficking or exploitation, there are resources for education. So see, what we're doing when we're providing resources is really having purposeful conversation.
Mhm.
You and I experienced it. Maybe it was in middle school around the dinner table, conversations that were had that are just part of how we think. Go ask questions. A lot of times women just need to be empowered. Go ask your caseworker. go ask your probation officer about this or that. And we help them navigate resources. So there's a wealth of resource in our Mighty Network platform. Again, if you're not familiar, that platform is a private, it's a bit like social media. But it's private and you can only come by invitation only. If you haven't joined that platform, we want you to. That's where you find out about everything Alive at Last. And then as a mentor, as a an advocate alongside these women, there's just a wealth of ongoing community like this, and then a wealth of resources for purposeful conversation when women hit crisis points.
And I just want to let people know, I mean, like Gwen said, she didn't have sexual trauma in her background. So when if you think about how you want to get involved or how you know somebody who wants to get involved, or you just start sharing. We have an amazing leader in Natalie. She has no problem talking about Alive at Last and sharing it with person after person, event after event. Truly amazing. We have a brand new mentor because of her in-laws' friends. I mean, this is how you keep sharing about it and resources come. So if you want to be part of Alive at Last, you could be a small group leader. We're hoping to get into 3 more shelters this year. So we need small group leaders. It's, once a week, about 6 to 9 weeks. And you get to sit with the women and see them blossom. Again, all the training is there for you, all the books and materials. You don't have to worry about any of that. Um, you could become a mentor. Again, we have training for that. Maybe that's not your thing. We need prayer warriors. I mean, this is spiritual warfare, people. The minute we start helping individuals is the more, the enemy wants to say they're not worthy, you're not smart enough. How could you possibly help another person? You have chaos in your life right now. I'm living in my daughter's basement right now. And so that is not stopping me from helping somebody else. So it doesn't matter where you are. So prayer is very, very important. You could provide more resources. If you know somebody who knows somebody for resources, let us know. We could put it in the Mighty Network and be able to share that with our ladies. Getting trained for mentorship. You could take that out. I have one new mentors, like I live out past Tyler in Texas. I would love to go into the shelter there. I'm like, okay, well, we got some training for you. We have books you can use, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's tons of things that you can do for Live at Last to come in and help. We have ladies who write cards to the women when it's their birthday or holidays. We have women that create bags for our Christmas hope. And we deliver those every year. We have those that come in just for events. We have the Alive at Last Sexual Trauma Retreat. It's coming in October 1st through the 3rd in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that's going to be an opportunity to come in and love on the women, as well as learn more, heal more. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am not perfectly healed this side of heaven. So any opportunity to get together in a faith-based, godly way with other women to heal and to continue to grow in my faith is an amazing opportunity. We have those that solely work our gala. And they come in and they sit behind and they sell merch. They do the silent auction, things like that. There's so many ways that you can be part of helping another woman heal. Our mentees, the ones that are speaking next week, they realize that they are trying to help us gain funds to get into more shelters. So they're not helping us. I already told them. I said, I already get paid. I get my little stipend and I don't need your dollars. You're helping Alive at Last go into more shelters. 2 more shelters in Dallas, another shelter in the Fort Worth area. That's what they're excited to help other people. Could you imagine this much excitement over sexual trauma? This is how much love and excitement that the Lord can provide on the most ugly thing that people want to never talk about.
Yeah.
I'm so excited with joy about working for Alive at Last and the women that we work with. Um, I,
There is nothing like healing, is
it,
there?
Nothing.
To be okay, to be well, to be in a place where you know that your life matters and you're on a good trajectory, there's nothing quite so empowering. Like you mentioned, Dr. Lynnette, everybody can get involved. Everybody can pray.
Amen.
We have a prayer email that goes out at least every 4 to 6 weeks around the uh, many of the women share their prayer request. And so you'll receive that from us. If you're not on our newsletter, go to aliveatlast.org and subscribe to that so that you can pray specifically and you can know how to pray. And then everybody can share the mission of Alive at Last. The fact that we meet and we initiate relationship with women in safe houses and shelters is one thing, but the fact that you attend church or that you are working, you're serving in your community, you 1 in 4 women, 1 in every 4 women has experienced some type of sexual abuse. Where do they go for healing? Some of our churches are not equipped, but Alive at Last is. So you can always refer your friends. We're not just specific to safe houses and shelters, but we also meet women in our community and provide mentoring for them. So everybody can pray, everybody can share the mission of Alive at Last. And then there are those that are called to serve. When we mention small group, I just want you to know we always serve in pairs. Our goal is 3. But we always serve in pairs. And so you shadow someone, go in alongside them. It's a great place to serve. And then everybody can give too. You might give $10. John and I are praying about our pledge to Alive at Last for this year, but everybody can do something. If everybody on our mailing list, I'll just say this, if everybody in our community just gave $10 a month, it would be a game changer for Alive at Last. So a lot of times people, this whole gathering today is about taking action. If
Hmm.
everybody took action in one way or another, you prayed, you shared, you determined how you could serve, and you determined what you would give, it would just be a game changer for this ministry and for the women we serve. So, thank you all for joining today. We've got just a couple of minutes. If anybody does want to make a comment, just open that wide open for you as we get ready to close.
I just like that $10 a day. I mean, $10 a month. That covers all of the resources that we need to cover one woman. That's one-on-one, $10 a month. You
Yes.
know, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. We have about 1,200 people that receive our communication. I don't know what the numbers are on social media right now, but I'm just talking about just our email database. So it would be a game changer. Typically, 20% of the funds come from, or 100% of the funds come from 20% of the donors. So it's really a marginal there. So anybody else, you have thoughts? You have anybody in our community want to share? Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for serving with Alive at Last. Wendy, Natalie, Crystal, Lynette, Ashley, thank you so much for what you do. There's some others that I see there are 12 chats in there, and there may be some others that I didn't see pop in. I saw Tuesday pop in at one point. Delana, Natasha, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you at our next Lunch and Learn coming up in February. Stay tuned, watch our newsletters, follow us on social media. Hey, Delana, board member there, also a longtime volunteer with Alive at Last. Glad you're here. Thank you all for serving with Alive at Last.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day. We'll see you next time.